You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about conflict. How do we handle when we have a dispute or a struggle with another person? How do we get over the internal conflict that we might have with ourselves around a challenge or an obstacle in our life? That is what we're going to focus on today. So if you're struggling with a burden on your heart or just wondering how do you get over the hump of a conflict in your life, feel free to call in. That's what I'm here for, is to help give you that motivation to get over that hump. And the number to call in is 800-333-0001. And I want to make sure that you stick around for our interview. Coming up in the next segment, we have Jeff Stesubic, and he was wrongfully convicted of murder and rape and was sentenced to prison for years, 16 years, many, many years that he shouldn't have been there. And then, oops, they made a mistake and he was set free. How do you live full out after that, after the loss of that time, that internal conflict that he had to go through? So you want to stay for that very inspiring story, even though it's got some heavy context to it. Also, we want to make sure that you're supported each week. Feel free to go to connect@livingfullout.com if you need resources to handle conflict, or if you have an inspirational story that you'd like to share with our community, then we want to hear that story and perhaps we'll put you on the air. Again, that email is connect@livingfullout.com. Lastly, if you want to hear today's show again, we get many, many requests of people who want to hear the recordings. They were inspired, but they missed a few things. Go ahead and go to our website, livingfullout.com, click on the radio show tab, and all of the episodes will be waiting there for you. So again, how do you handle conflict in your life? We're getting a word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line. We're going to go ahead and say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi.
It's good to be on the show.
Absolutely. How can we help you today? What's going on?
Well, I just need some advice. So I feel like I don't have the best luck when it comes to dating, and probably worse luck when it comes to online dating. And a couple months ago, I started talking with a guy that, it's since a long time, this was the first guy that I started feeling like, wow, there seems to be a connection. Things seem to be going really well. And I started really kind of opening up and realizing, okay, I think I like him. This is going really well. But since he lived kind of far away, as he said, we hadn't met in person yet, and it had been about a month that we were talking. And as that happened, I find, long story short, he asked if he can borrow money from me. As soon as I heard that, it just seemed kind of off. And when I started looking more into him, I find that he's fake. And I learned personally a new term called catfishing, I guess. And yep. I broke everything off, and I thought I had moved on, and seemed okay. Everything seemed fine. But what I'm starting to feel now is I'm trying to go back into meeting somebody else, talking to somebody else, but I keep having this really nervous, almost anxiety about talking to another guy.
Well, I think that's completely understandable. And I do have two thoughts for you I want you to think about, okay? Number one is, overall, when you tell this story, it's heartbreaking because you experienced it. And I can see how it would have you not want to trust people. And I'm sure when you've told other people this story in a more expanded time, you could probably tell it in a half an hour to an hour. And it is unfortunate that there are people in this world that do catfish other people. But here's what I want you to consider. The more you feed it, the story, the more you tell others about it, the more you give it power over you. That's what you're doing. You're giving your power away. It's just unfortunate that there are those people. There's going to be people in this life that catfish. There's going to be people in this life that stare. There's going to be people in this life that use foul language, right? There's just those people in the world. But if you allow them to be the focus of your dialogue with people, if you allow them to take over your ability to trust, if you allow them to limit you from wanting to go online or meet other people just because it may happen again, now they've won. I want you to turn it around, and I want you to say, you know what? You're a loser. And I'm not going to let you take all that from me. I'm a vibrant, awesome woman, and some guy is going to love me. And that's not you, loser. Again, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call him, right? Because, okay, so again, don't give your power away, okay? The second thing I want you to consider is the longer you stay off the market, the longer you keep yourself away from that person that really will adore you. And I want you to flip it around and think about it the other way. You know, this great guy that you might be looking for gets burned by a woman. He takes himself off the market, too afraid to date, won't go back on. He's the great guy for you, the best guy for you, but he's not going on. Therefore, you can't find him, right? The longer you keep yourself off online dating or putting yourself out there or trusting people, you keep yourself further away from that person.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I was like, how can I just be more comfortable again about,
just remember
back out there.
No, remember your worth. Remember your worth. You're great, right? Would you assume that you're a fun person, right?
Yeah.
Are you pretty smart?
Yeah.
Pretty loving? You got a good heart in you?
Yeah. Thank you.
Then don't hold yourself back. Live full out. In fact, today, I want you to sign up for one site or go back and renew your password. Pour yourself a glass of wine and say, you know what? I'm not going to let that guy hold me back. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go on and at least respond back to somebody that has said hi that I haven't responded to.
Absolutely. It just starts there, and then it will snowball, and then boom, there will be that person you have chemistry with. Okay? Thank you so much for calling in, though.
Thank you.
You got it. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
I love that she called in about that. And how do we handle that conflict with ourselves, our ability to trust and put ourselves out there? I have a feeling she's going to open a new door tonight, and great things are going to come her way. It's just about having the courage to ante up again and try. So we're going to go back to the phone lines again. We have another caller on the line. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Oh, hi.
Hi, thank you for holding. I know there's quite a few callers there, but what can we do to help you today? What's going on?
Yeah, so my dilemma is that I just graduated from college, and I've been doing my best to find a full-time job, but it's been really difficult. I've been getting some rejections or just no responses from anybody, and I've applied to so many jobs. And I do have a part-time job, so thankfully I'm not without a job completely, but I don't get too many hours. And so I'm a little bit stressed out financially and just for myself because I want to have a job and feel like I'm doing something. So I don't know. I don't know how to really stay motivated sometimes and confident that I'll find a full-time job anytime soon.
You know, I love that you called in around this question, and I got so much to tell you, more to tell you than I have time for, but I'm going to go super fast, okay? Because I really want you to do well in life, and I know you will, okay? First thing I want you to consider, when you get a rejection, I want you to ask why. Sometimes it's scary. You don't want to know. You're like, I got rejected. Why would I ask why? I want you to call them. I want you to talk to the person at HR who made the decision. Email them, fax them, whatever you got to do. Find out the why. The only way you get better and become the perfect candidate for that next job is to know why. And then you can gain more power. Like you can take control and say, you know what? Okay, I wasn't a fast enough typer. Okay, I didn't have that degree. Now you know why. Now you can get that and become a stronger candidate. Okay? Number two, I want you to not rely on what the masses are doing. Okay? If a company places a job, they place online or through a recruiting service, and mass people see that ad and they all apply. I want you to consider, what is the job that you would like? What is the company that you would like to work for? And I want you to make an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document, whatever you want to do, list out 25 to 50 companies in your local area, and I want you to take control and call them. Call their HR department. Say, hi, my name is. This is what I can contribute to your company. I'd love to be a part of your company. And I want you to put yourself out there and seek opportunities rather than just what's available. And most of all, believe in yourself because you are worth it. And it's just timing. The best things in life are worth waiting for. And so just go out there, be tenacious, and the right job will come. Can you do that?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Good. Well, I believe in you, and I'm sending you a big hug. You're going to do great, okay?
Oh, thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you for calling in.
All right, you too. Thank you.
So as we consider conflict today, again, it could be conflict with another person. It could just be an internal conflict within ourselves. Sometimes it's just that motivational switch that we need to get back on track. Know that you can do it. Now, we're going to be coming right back with a very inspiring interview. You don't want to miss it. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show.
Dad,
we'll be back.
This is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
It's not working. I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then
nothing. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about conflict and how do we handle that? How do we get our life back onto a good path, one that we can be proud of? Now, our inspirational guest today, Jeffrey Deskovic, honestly, his story is not only empowering, but it's one that could happen to any of us. He was wrongfully convicted of rape and murder, was incarcerated from age 17 to 32. Imagine that amount of time. Now, I'm not going to give his whole story away, but honestly, remember as you listen to his story, this could be anyone. This could be a friend. This could be your brother. This could be anyone that you know. So I'd like to welcome Jeff to the show.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Deskovic. Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be on the show today.
You know what, Jeff? I love that you're here, and I just want to say that I'm so glad that you're in this world because your life is so full of purpose. Painfully, you had to find that purpose through, all that you went through with the wrongful conviction and, pleading your case and then proving your innocence. You had to do all of that to get to this purposeful life that you lead. But I want to take our audience back in time, okay? Because I think it's important to know where you began to where you are now. Now,
Absolutely.
When this murder and rape happened, it was a big deal, because your area was a small town and this just didn't happen in your small town. And also, the boy that you were at 16, you were very inquisitive. You kind of enjoyed the cop shows and the investigative part of it all. But the cops, they kind of courted you. They kind of baited you. Can you share with us in what way?
Yes. So for about 6 weeks, I had interaction with the police, and my interactions with them always took on the following dynamic. Half the time they would talk to me as if I was a suspect, and the other half the time they would talk to me pretending like they needed my help to solve the crime. They would say things like, the kids won't talk freely around us, but they will around you. Let us know if you hear any rumors. They would ask me opinion questions and congratulate me on my opinions being correct. They made me feel important. They told me to stop in from time to time. So that intersected with what my fantasy childhood career was, which was I wanted to be a police officer when I grew up. So that, along with my age, 16, was how they were able to pull the wool over my eyes. Go ahead.
Well, and you were kind of going along and kind of going with it, trying to be helpful in any way you could. But then the day came when it really took a turn where you felt completely uncomfortable when they asked you to do what?
They asked me to take a lie detector test, a polygraph test. They told me that they told me that there was some new information that had come into the police file that they wanted to share with me, that would put me in a better position to help them, but I would have to take and pass the polygraph first.
And was it as simple as just going in, spending about a half an hour, and you were done?
That was what they made me think, but that's not actually what happened.
What actually happened? How did they, in some ways, emotionally torture you during that time?
So they drove me from Peekskill, which is in Westchester County, New York, to the town of Brewster, which is in Putnam County, so across county lines. So that was about 40 minutes. So that meant I wasn't able to leave on my own, and I was dependent on the police. They put me in a small room. I didn't have an attorney present. They didn't give me anything to eat. They gave me countless cups of coffee to get me nervous. The polygraphist was a sheriff's investigator who was dressed as a civilian and pretending not to be a cop. And they put me in that small room and wired me up to the machine, and then they launched into his third-degree tactics, which involved raising his voice at me, asking me the same questions over and over again, raising his voice. As each hour passed, my fear increased in proportion to the time. Towards the end, I was threatened and given a false promise that I was told the cops were going to harm me, that they were holding them off, but I couldn't do so indefinitely. They couldn't continue to do so. This is the cop who was pretending to be my friend. And then he told me if I did as I wanted, I would not be arrested. So being young, naive, frightened, 16, in fear of my life, really painfully aware that nobody knew where I was, and that I didn't know where I was, and being overwhelmed psychologically and emotionally, I took the out which they offered based on the information they gave me in that interrogation in the 6 weeks. I made up a story. I falsely confessed. By the time it was all said and done, I was curled up in a fetal position on the floor, crying uncontrollably.
And Jeff, I mean, I can feel that moment as you tell it. All these years later, it feels a little bit like just yesterday, huh? I mean, I don't think you'll ever be released from that moment. And that's correct. They had everything they needed. Now they had a written confession, and off you went.
No. Well, let me just say this: they had it wasn't written, it wasn't audio recorded, it wasn't signed. It was just the officer's word. And as a result of that, they were able to leave the threat and false promise out of their testimony.
Wow. That's amazing. And when they finally took you back, how long was it before they arrested you?
Well, I realize now that, right after that happened, that I was arrested because they handcuffed me, putting my hands behind my back, but they never told me I was under arrest. I asked them, why are you handcuffing me? And they just told me safety. And it wasn't until I was at the police station that I realized I was arrested, because they gave me pizza to eat, and the cops kept interrupting me with various aspects of processing me. When I finally they put the fingerprints, they put all the ink on me, I looked for one of the detectives, and I said, well, why is he doing that? I'm eating pizza. I got ink on my hands now. And I was told, oh, he has the right to do that. He's being fingerprinted. And I said, well, what do you mean he has the right to do that? And that's when I was told I wasn't going to be arrested. And that's when I was informed that I was, in fact, going to be arrested.
We see it in the movies and in TV. Everyone gets that one call. Did you make a one call to somebody?
Yeah, I was. They asked me if I wanted to call my mother, but I didn't want to call her. I mean, I knew my mother didn't want me to interact with the police, but I was 16. It was at that stage, 16, 17, where kids are starting to be a little rebellious, a little bit against their parents, and they know better. And I didn't understand what the harm was in me interacting with the police, because what could possibly happen, right? So because of that, I didn't want to call my mother, but they did offer me to call.
And then when you actually went to trial and were sentenced, now you were 17, correct? In terms of the timing of it all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Now there's so much more to your journey in terms of, actually being imprisoned and what that was like to, your countless times to appeal and get out. And so when we come back from the commercial break, Jeff, I want you to stay with us. We're going to launch all into that. And again, I want everybody to listen up, because this could be any of us. Jeff was just a 16-year-old frightened boy who was fascinated by his childhood dream, and then boom, here he is all of a sudden arrested. So Jeff, stay with us. And everybody, when we come back, I want you to think about where you are in your life in terms of feeling conflicted. And we want to give you the motivation that you need to get to the other side. So we'll be coming right back after this break. This is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. Stay with us.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know. wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about conflict and what's required of us to get out of that place of feeling stuck, defeated, hopeless, to where we have a chance, we have a shot, we can do something. And our inspirational guest today, Jeffrey Destovic, honestly, to be basically accused, convicted of a crime he did not commit, murder and rape, being incarcerated from 17 to 32, losing that time. How do you come out of that not feeling jaded, just wanting to give up on life? Well, anybody who hears Jeff talk will know that is not him. He's amazing. And so I'd like to welcome Jeff back to the show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Hey, so we just talked in the last segment all about what led up to your arrest. But I can't imagine the day that you were there in the trial and you heard the judge sentence you. What was that moment like? That you knew that you were innocent, yet you're being convicted?
Right. I mean, I begged the judge. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. I mean, I begged the judge to overturn the verdict because I was innocent, and I referenced the negative DNA test result, which showed that semen found in the victim didn't match me. I referenced that to support my contention. He actually told me on the record, maybe you are innocent, but nonetheless, he didn't exercise his discretion to overturn the conviction, which he could have done by overturning any of the rulings he had made against me in the course of the trial. Instead, he took the easy, politically expedient way out, which was to sentence me to a 15 to life sentence. I was incredibly frightened. I didn't know what to expect. I thought that my life was over.
And what was prison like for you? How were you treated by the other inmates and the guards and all that?
Yeah, I would describe prison as a nonstop obstacle course with the guards, prisoners, and civilian staff as obstacles to the main goal, which was to try to overturn the conviction and to regain my freedom. I mean, prison was very dangerous and violent, and there was times I was physically assaulted. One time I nearly lost my life. I was always in fear of my life because I knew if the prisoners discovered I was in prison for a sex offense, that could be his motivation to assault me, because his vigilante mentality was people have been convicted of sex offenses. I had to fight off inner feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, depression. At times I thought about giving up. At other times I thought about suicide. So I had to fight an internal battle as much as it was an external battle against the prosecutor and the courts.
Now, you had an unfortunate representative who was talking on your behalf because you tried to appeal numerous times, but yet they didn't go through. And I know we can't go through all of them, but what were the main reasons for why they didn't look closer at your case and see the innocence?
Because there's a judicial mindset where, finality of conviction, which is the idea, look, you had your day at court, you lost, how long are we going to keep, going through this? And there's a reluctance of courts to overturn a conviction because, they think about all the time and effort and money that went into it to begin with and to have to redo it. So that's part of it. And then I lost when I filed in federal court because the court clerk gave my lawyer the wrong information. So my paperwork arrived 4 days too late, which the court used to just, dismiss my case, saying I was late. The district attorney urged them to do that, and so I lost 3 appeals that way. And all told, I lost 7 appeals. I got turned down for parole. I wrote hundreds of letters looking for free legal help and free investigative help, because when your appeals are over, the only way to get back in court is if they find some previously unknown evidence of innocence. I wrote letters for like 4 years.
Well, and this is where I feel your story gets to be so inspiring to me. Like, I'm rooting for you at this point. Because, listen, everybody, he was told no countless times. Appeals, paroles, no. You're stuck. This is it. This is your life sentence. But you didn't give up. You kept writing those letters. And then finally one day a letter came. Who wrote you?
Well, and then I wrote, an investigator wrote me. I wrote a book author in care of the publishing company, but she forwarded it to an investigator, and the investigator was very interested when I mentioned that I had a DNA test that showed I was innocent, and she ultimately connected me to the Innocence Project, and then I got lucky. Fortune smiled on me again, and the intake work at the Innocence Project, represented my case to the lawyers twice before they finally accepted it 3 times, and once they did that, they took my case and they were able to turn it around. But I believe if you want a miracle to happen, you have to work really, really hard for that to happen. You have to put yourself in position, and somewhere along the way, that you'll get a break along the way, and you have to be willing to move forward with your goal, perhaps in a slightly different way than what you had conceptualized at the beginning.
And honestly, Jeff, when you say that, like, I feel this warmness in my chest. Like, I can only imagine what that day must have been like when you stepped out of prison and you were free. What was the emotions that you felt?
It was surreal. I didn't believe that it was happening. That was my first words actually to the press. I mean, my first words were, "Is this really happening?" And I couldn't believe it. and everything that I ever wanted to say but could never get anyone to hear me say in the course of 16 years came out. And before I knew what happened, I, had been speaking for like 2.5 hours. And that was when I realized that I found my calling in life, that I could be part of the Innocence movement without necessarily being a lawyer. And so I began this odyssey of doing my advocacy work.
Well, and you know what I think is also interesting is it's not like you get out of prison and you got $1,000 waiting for you and a job waiting for you and a suitcase full of clothes, right?
Right. No,
pretty much like, good luck.
Nothing.
Right.
I was released with nothing, and so I kind of went from the fire to the frying pan, if you will. I nearly ended up into a homeless shelter, and I did not understand the technology. The culture passed me by. I had no work history at all. There was a stigma of having been in prison, albeit wrongfully. Yes, we know you were innocent. Yes, the actual perpetrator was caught, but you spent 16 years in there nonetheless. How much of it rubbed off on you? Was it safe to have you around? So it was different, trying to put together a new social life. It was all extremely difficult for about 5 years until I was compensated.
Jeff, how do you release anger? So many people would be so angry for the time that they've lost. How did you kind of expel that out of your body? How did you become such this genuine, not jaded person?
So I was angry the first week, and then I realized, I've lost so much already. Why would I want to, in effect, give over the rest of my life? Then I realized, it's not like if I remain angry that I'd be adversely affecting anyone who had something to do with this, with what happened to me. I want to enjoy my life as much as I can, and I can't do that if I'm angry or bitter. And the device that allows me to do that is I take the energy that I feel and I channel it into the advocacy work, so I have that release valve. I make sense of what happened to me in a kaleidoscopic manner, in the sense that I believe that my purpose in the world is to fight wrongful conviction, and that what happened to me was the necessary prep work. And so I need to take that negative to turn it a positive. I need my suffering to count for something.
Mm-hmm. And what should we know as an audience hearing your story today? Because again, granted, you gave an oral confession, right? But at the same time, this could be any of us that could be cornered, baited.
Coerced false confessions have been the cause of wrongful convictions in 25% of the cases. So it could happen to anybody, but there's other causes of wrongful conviction, from prosecutorial misconduct to bad lawyering to lying informants to misidentification to police misconduct. It can happen any number of ways. And there's been more than 2,000 people exonerated from 1991 until now.
Wow.
I went from being an individual advocate for 5 years, and when I was compensated, I started a nonprofit organization named after me, the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. So, and we exonerated 2 people, and we got another 4 out through other legal ways. But and I want to share with you, Nancy, what's happened since I first spoke with you and your team. As of last night, we got another person just was granted parole. Normally when you go to the parole board, if you say you're innocent, instead of expressing remorse and taking responsibility, they almost always turn your person down. So our client went to the parole board after 38 years and being denied 5 times, and they spent a lot of time talking about the letter that I sent from my foundation and another entity that I helped bring in, and he was just granted parole, so he's going to be coming home. And our effort will continue to exonerate, but he can be free while that slow wheels of justice turn. So I feel...
You know what? That is such a winning moment. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I think we should all think of that person today and just what's in store for them. It'll be a long haul of dealing with the emotions and the physical pain that they were endured. But at the same time, they have a shot now, just like you did. And I really want to thank you very much for sharing your story today, because again, I feel comfortable now knowing that you're walking this world looking out for us. I know that hopefully I'm never wrongfully convicted of something, but if I do, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you, Jeff, because you've done it and you've come out the other side so positive. Truly a great example of living full out.
Thank you very much. This was one of the more meaningful interviews, and I just want to share with the audience, if anyone would like to learn more about me or my organization, they can go to deskovic.org. That's DESKOVIC.org, and they can email me from there. I'm happy to share more information. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you to your audience to listen.
Oh, we adore you, Jeff. You got friends in all of us. So have a wonderful day, and thank you so much.
You too.
And I want everybody to think about, again, if you're dealing with conflict, just like he did, emotionally, physically, you don't have to be imprisoned within your own prison. You can get out and you can live a life full out. It is never too late. We're going to be coming back in the next segment, taking your calls. And again, I'm here for you. I want to give you that motivation that you need to get over that hurdle. It's never too late to live your life full out. We'll be coming right back. I am Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show. Stay with us.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're gonna jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care, people, for goodness sake.
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
When confronted with conflict, I want you to remember to always just take a pause. It's so easy to spiral and fester and get into a place of fear. But you want to take a pause, breathe, collect yourself, and remember that you are worth it, that you are creative, that you are intelligent. You can methodically think about your next step rather than operating from a place of fear. That is when you are living your life full out, not allowing the conflict in your
You're
life
listening to
burden
Living Full
you.
Out with Nancy Solari. Nancy is here as a guide to show you how to rise above obstacles and savor each moment. If you have a question, call in live at 800-333-0001. That's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
All right, here we are, last segment of the show, and we are talking about conflict. And, even over the commercial break, I'm thinking to myself, where am I in unrest? Where do I feel like I just need to come clean with myself or catch up with somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time? And I think we all go through that, right? Life gets busy. We sometimes can make excuses for others or ourselves. And the best way to move forward in life is to actually confront what is bugging you, what is holding you back, what you feel maybe gypped or jaded about. And this is always going to be a safe place for you to come, to call in, to express what is on your mind. And whether you are ready to call in today or whether you want those resources or need that support after the show, that is why I want you to email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Really important to know that when you're handling conflict, it's not just done in a snap. It's not like, oh, the answer is this, or I'll just do it this way and the other person will do it the way I want. It's about negotiating. It's about compromise. And so you have to consider all the different angles of a situation before you react. So we're getting a word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line. We're going to go see what's going on with them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out show. Hi, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So what's going on today? How can we help you?
I was thinking maybe you could help me with figuring out how to, like when I'm in situations with someone that's close to me and there's not enough communication or there's a misunderstanding, I find that I assume the worst with respect to that person that I'm, in that relationship with. Like, for example, I had a boyfriend, and when he told me last night he couldn't meet me for a concert, I kind of assumed he blew me off. And he didn't give me enough details, but instead of assuming that he was considerate and instead of assuming good things, I was just kind of upset about it. And we talked about it a week later because I was still annoyed about it. And when I heard his side of things in more detail, I realized that it couldn't have been helped and he wasn't being inconsiderate. And I find that this happens to me with people that I'm really close. And so I'm trying to understand if there are things I can do to be less defensive and, not assume negative intentions with people, and what are things that I can do or what are triggers that I can watch for, with my behavior, or tools that I can apply so that I'm less defensive, because I feel like it's a defense mechanism, but I can't figure out what to do about it.
Well, let me ask you a question, because all the how-tos are really important. But when, for example, that moment with your boyfriend happened, how do you feel about yourself? Like if you look back at yourself and how you acted or reacted and the blame and the accusations that you might have put on him, how do you feel about who silly. You are? You feel silly? Just silly?
Yeah.
Any other emotions?
I was petty to have assumed that, he was or she was like not considerate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just jumped to conclusions.
Exactly. Now, do other people in your life, do they ever do they jump to conclusions with you? Do they accuse you? Do they ever do that to you? No.
No.
And isn't that nice to know that your word is taken for what it is?
Right. And then, so I guess I over-communicate and I tell everybody what happened. Like, so when that boyfriend of mine or that friend of mine says, I'm not going to that concert, like, they don't tell me why. And so on my end, when I do it, I go, here's the reason, and I try to over-communicate, I think, sometimes.
So here's what I want you to
put
do.
it on them, I think I need to pull the information out of them or something.
Right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do your best this week. I'm going to give you an exercise. It's going to be a hard one.
Okay.
Okay? I want you to listen way more than you talk. Not because we don't love your voice and you have so much great things to say, but it's actually a skill that I want you to do. Now, I want you to talk to somebody on the phone. I want you to call them, and I want you to ask only about their life. Let them talk and talk and talk and talk. And only when there's silence will you ask your next question. Literally be a sounding board. And if you're eating with someone, again, ask all about their day. Listen, 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 listen. And I want you to do that because it's really a skill of learning, and there's so much you can gain from that. Because I wonder if along the way, your boyfriend or others have hinted perhaps how busy their schedule is, or hinted something that could be coming and you don't hear that. I'm just wondering. Okay? So I really want you to focus on listening as your skill for this week. Now, what I want you to also consider is that you're a good person, right? Don't let this become bigger than it needs to be. Okay? The only time that it's going to not be great in your life is if it ruins a friendship, ruins a relationship. And that's where you're going to take that skill I want you to practice this week, and you need to step back and listen to that person. Is that something you can do?
Sure.
Okay. If you do that, I think you'll get a lot of insight from that. So I want to thank you so much for calling into today's show. And, we'll be thinking about you today as you listen. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
All right. Have a great day. And, for everybody who called in today, thank you so much. And we'll be coming back next week with more motivation. Here's to you living your life full out.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Here's to you, living full out.